Welcome to Faith Village. We are here with Gary Thomas, author of Sacred Marriage and many other books. But I know Sacred Marriage has been around for 13 years now.
Yeah, it's hard to believe.
It is, and it's still popular. You're still doing marriage seminars based on that book. You'll be at my church tonight. Looking forward to that. Now, you like the word sacred. It's on a bunch of your books. Talk to me about that.
It's really about bringing God deeper into our marriages, deeper into our lives. I have a devotional where I talk about God is in the room. And I just present the question, how would your marriage change if you remembered that God is in the room? Because He is. I mean, how would you argue differently? How would you discipline your kids differently? How would you experience a difference in the bedroom, right? in the kitchen, in the living room? I mean, every aspect of marriage and family life can be transformed when we bring God further into it. And when I wrote Sacred Marriage, it was really kind of pushing back that we had this sort of celibate style of spirituality. If you're really spiritual, you do celibate things. You fast, solitude, go off alone on these things. And I'm saying, but most of us live in families. And so how can we be spiritually formed in families? And that's sort of what I meant by the sacred.
Okay. And so marriage you talk about as transformational.
Yes.
How so?
Well, the subtitle of Sacred Marriage, and that's sort of what has given it its push, is what if God designed marriage to make us holy more than to make us happy?
Which a lot of people would argue with.
And the thing is it just has been for me. There's never been a relationship like marriage that I think has revealed my sin in a way that I never saw it as a single. I mean, it just pulls things out of you. Even more, though, it gives you a place and a platform to learn how to forgive and ask for forgiveness, to learn how to serve, to be less selfish, to understand, to be more gentle, to drop some prejudices. Women deal with their issues with men deal with their issues with women. If we really engage in marriage, if we're prayerful about it, if we're thoughtful, if we're intentional, I think it will transform us about as much as anything. Here's what I like to say to parents. And I like celibate spirituality in the sense of, yeah, go ahead, do your prayer retreat by yourself, 3 days away on a weekend or something with your Bible study and all that. But what's going to challenge your character more? Doing that, being off by yourself in a retreat setting, or getting in an SUV and taking a 6-hour drive with your spouse and kid? You know where I'm going.
I have 4.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to grow in patience and gentleness and kindness and selflessness, family life seems to me made to order.
It is transformational.
Yeah.
It is spiritual formation. This is true. Okay, so give me a story about how this book, which has been around for a while now, has changed somebody's life.
Yeah, it's just been sobering because really hardly a week goes by when we don't get an email or a comment from someone about what God has done. But I can think of a couple, and this was more moving to me, I think, because it was in person. This guy came up to me, a young couple. They had like a 4-year-old boy and like an 18-month-old girl. Really tight little curls, really white hair, blonde hair. And he goes, Gary, you have no idea what Sacred Marriage has done for my family. And I said, what? And he goes, well, my wife and I were really at an end. And she said she was so done with me. She was just tired. And I said, I think we want to give it another try. She goes, no, I'm done. And so she'd gotten an apartment and she was packing her things. He goes, I've been counseling with my pastor. And he said, here's the book you got to read, Sacred Marriage. This is what's going to help give you a new perspective. So he had his book up there, and she was gathering some things to put in her box to take to her new apartment, and the book fell down. And it fell face up, and she saw the subtitle, What if God designed marriage to make us holy more than to make us happy? And the subtitle intrigued her enough where she said, And she opened it up and started reading. It was like 10 o'clock at night. She woke her husband up at 2 a.m., and she just said, look, I got to give this another try. I think he's right. I think there's something that we haven't been considering. And the reason it moved me is he's got this little boy next to him and this little girl he's holding, and I can write the histories of those kids, their futures, if that marriage had broken up. And just to see that now they were giving it another try, and you could see the love between the couple, and you could see how those kids' homes was going to be dramatically different because the parents were given another chance. I'll never forget that conversation.
That's a good one. That must be fulfilling as an author, as a teacher, a pastor. Yeah.
Well, it's grateful that I feel like God pours out so much, and when a couple drops get out onto other people,
it's always good.
It's nice.
Yeah. So 13 years later, if you were going to write this book again, would you change anything? Would you add anything?
It's funny you say that because I'm updating it.
Oh, well, hey, there we go.
But I'm really not trying to add, we don't want to make it another book because it just keeps rolling along.
Yeah.
It really has. And my publishing house was terrified when I said I wanted to update it some because they're like, Gary, if it's not broken, don't fix it, please,
Right.
because it's been earning them some money. So, but we're updating some of the references. You know, you can't talk about cassette tapes and General Schwarzkopf and younger people
So
he's big, but you know, the principles have held up pretty well. It's been challenging. That whole notion. Someone said to me, has really changed the way the church writes about marriage. You see a difference in books after that now people are bringing that aspect in, that it's not just about trying to have a happier marriage or try to make things easier or fun. It's what's the spiritual purpose and how does God use the difficulty. And so there's more I can say, and there's more I will say in another book, but just even recently going through it, I'm just grateful that, I think those same principles are holding pretty true.
Sounds like it. If you're still doing conferences based on that book 13 years later, and lives are still being changed. Thank you very much.
Sure.